Bandit signs. We're here to talk about bandit signs. And bandit signs are one of the best ways to market for both buyers and for sellers. Usually we're marketing for motivated sellers, but they're also very good for finding buyers. And in even some cases, it will help you find other investors. Historically, bandit signs are one of the lowest cost per lead marketing strategies that you can use. And historically speaking, this is how you get deals relatively inexpensively. Bandit signs work best for wholesaling, fixing, flipping, all the seller financing strategies, lease options, short sales, and equity partnering deals. So a lot of those, both equity and no equity deals, work well with short sales. For a marketing overview, short sales are relatively inexpensive. Bandit signs are relatively inexpensive, $1.50 to maybe up to $4 per sign. And, moderate amount of time, 10 to 20 minutes per sign to put the signs out. Actually, I would say it takes more time than it takes money. So those are the trade-offs between time and money for bandit signs. In terms of the cost for the strategy, again, bandit signs are relatively cheap. We just recently looked on a website and found bandit signs for We Buy Houses type advertising at about $1.67 a sign. You're going to go through a ton of signs, mostly because they're going to get taken down and thrown out almost as fast as you can put them up and or destroyed by the weather. So you're going to have to buy bazillions of these things and drive around and constantly be putting them out. My friends and associates who are real bandit sign experts. I don't consider myself a bandit sign expert, but I have lots of friends that are, and I've learned from them. They literally drive around with a trunk or back of their SUV filled with bandit signs all the time, and they're constantly putting them out. In terms of time, you have a choice. You can either do it yourself, meaning go ahead and put the bandit signs out yourself. It'll typically take 2 to 4 hours every time you plot out a route and put out a bunch of signs in your distribution area, or you can pay somebody else to do it for you. If you pay somebody else to do it for you, you're going to have to pay them, $10 or $20 an hour to go put a bunch of signs out for you. Now, in general, what you're going to do is you're going to stake out a route. What does that mean? You're going to literally get out a map and, plot out a, big circle on the map around the area you want to do your marketing in. And you might even want to put a little X on the map where you're putting your signs, but don't put it out ahead of time. Actually, when you're out putting the signs out, put the little X's on, because if you put the X's on ahead of time, you're going to discover you're not going to actually put the signs where you think you're going to put them. When you get to the location, you're going to ferret out the best place to put the signs. So you figure out a route on the map, and then you drive that route with a car full of signs, and you put the signs out along the route and mark where you put the signs out. In terms of your target market, you've got to understand your target market and what they are looking for. For bandit signs, you're typically looking for motivated sellers and or motivated buyers. As a result, you're going to use a message that resonates with that target market. And obviously, that's true with any type of marketing. So some of the best messaging for sellers is, bandit signs don't follow a lot of, you have to remember you don't have a lot of room on the bandit sign. You have a very small sign. In fact, I'll hold one up. Here's an example of a bandit sign, right? We Buy Houses, Fast Cash, Creative. 18 by 24 inch core plastic sign. This is the industry standard, if you will. This exact sign is probably maybe hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you write a phone number in the spot there. So there's obviously not much room on this sign to put a lot of stuff. If you try to put more words on the sign, the words get smaller and smaller, and when somebody's driving by quickly, they're just not going to see the words. So you want to minimize the messaging as much as you possibly can. So the best messages to convey what you're trying to do in the fewest number of words are, We Buy Houses. For seller marketing, We Buy Houses is frankly the best brand there is. Everybody recognizes We Buy Houses as investors looking for investment opportunities. And the good news about that brand is nobody owns it. And very often, people will call me when they see my We Buy Houses sign, and they'll say, "Are you the We Buy Houses company?" And I'll say, "As a matter of fact, I am." Fast, we talked about this in creating your message. You always want to say that you can buy the house fast because fast is synonymous with what the seller wants. Motivated sellers need to solve their problem quickly, so fast is what they're looking for. And you always want to say that you buy your house for cash because to a motivated seller, cash means fast. Their impression is that the only way to sell a house quickly is with cash. So they're looking for cash buyers. Whether you're a cash buyer or not, you always want to advertise yourself as a cash buyer. And even if they accept a cash offer from you, great. You can always find somebody who is a cash buyer to wholesale the deal to in the event that you yourself are not a cash buyer. And then if you put anything else on the Bandit sign besides we buy houses fast and cash, it would be some sort of a solution that your problem. Creative financing, any condition, one other little message. For buyers, the best messaging is, we have houses. Buyers want houses. No banks, no qualifying. And then something about the house. What the payment is. Buyers generally buy by terms, by payment rather than by price. And what the size of the house is. So we'll give you some examples here of some of these messages. We buy houses, fast, cash, and a phone number. That's a very clean, simple, elegant Bandit sign. And it's so clean and elegant, you can literally buy that sign pre-made and then hand write in the phone number. Get one that doesn't have the phone number, obviously. You get those signs, very inexpensive, and they're very, very effective. Don't feel like you have to get super creative with these things. I buy houses, any condition, any situation. See, those are those other couple of messages they wanted to put in here. 24 hours or less call. 48 hours or less obviously means I'm fast. We buy houses, any condition, fast cash. That's a handwritten sign. Handwritten can be very, very effective because it implies that you are, just some guy looking to do a deal quickly. And sometimes people trust individuals more than they trust corporations. So that's why handwritten signs can be very effective. There's a couple of buyer signs down at the bottom. Owner finance, no banks, no qualifying, must sell, 3-bed, 2-bath, call now. Great sign. Says everything a buyer is looking for. It says that they can get a house without having to qualify with a bank, which is what most buyers are trying to do nowadays, the ones that are going to go to investors instead of to realtors to get houses. And then over on the right is lower is rent to own. No banks, no qualifying, must sell. Same message. Rent to own can be a lease option, or it can even be a wrap that you're advertising as a rent to own. Our experience is that when you advertise rent to own, it actually has a higher response rate than when you advertise owner financing. So sometimes, even when we're doing owner financing, we still advertise rent to own. And then when they call, we say, oh, well, you actually qualify for owner financing. So I don't feel too bad that I'm selling something different than I'm advertising, only because what I'm actually selling or offering is something better than what I'm advertising. But I've learned from experience that rent to own has a higher response rate than owner finance. So sometimes we use rent to own instead of owner financing, even when we're offering wraps and owner financing type of deals. Okay, response and conversion rates. When placed in the right spot, you can get both a high response and a high conversion rate. Some of your signs will stay up a very long time and will get a high volume of calls. Others will disappear quickly and or get no response at all. And I will say that when it comes to Bandit signs, it's really more of an art than a science. The friends of mine that are good at Bandit signs spend long amounts of time ferreting out all the best little nooks and crannies to place their signs in. And when you get started in the Bandit sign business, your perception is going to be, oh, well, let's put the Bandit sign at the busy intersection. You're going to pick the busiest intersection in town where there's a stoplight, and every time the light turns red, 20 cars pile up for 2 minutes, and your thinking is, oh my gosh, if I put a sign there, hundreds of cars are going to see it every hour. And that's true, but historically, those actually don't convert as well for a couple of different reasons. One, those signs get thrown away almost as fast as you can put them out because the bandit police, throw them out as fast as they find them. And two, a lot of times at those busier intersections, people are consumed with other things and not like looking at bandit signs. They're trying to avoid eye contact with the homeless guy asking for food, and they're just kind of focused on other things. So very often what we found is that the better spots to put bandit signs are up on telephone poles or on private land or in that little, set of bushes driving in and out of the subdivision that you're targeting, or driving in and out of the Walmart or Home Depot or whatever. And again, it's a little bit of an art. And what happens is you put these bandit signs out and you try different locations and spots. And what you do is next time you put them out, you'll see which ones got torn down and which ones are still there. So it'll give you an idea of how long the lifespan of a sign in a different location is going to be. And you're going to find out where the locations are that are going to allow the signs to stay in place longer, which gives you more opportunities for the sign to be seen and responded to. And what happens is the people that get good at this, some of my friends, they'll have this one sign that's on a telephone pole in this one location, next to a strip mall or whatever. And every month that one sign gives them, 1 or 2 leads, and it's been there for years. And if they can ferret out, 20 of that kind of a location, they're set. They've got a ton of great, highly effective marketing. But it took them maybe, a year to figure out what that one location was that really worked well. And in the meantime, they tried a million other locations where as soon as they put the sign out, the sign got picked up and thrown away or whatever. So it is an art to ferret out the best locations for the signs. You're going to have to test and adjust accordingly to figure it out on your own. I've given you some hints in this presentation, but obviously every neighborhood is different, every location, every city is a little bit different. Let me talk for a few minutes about insourcing versus outsourcing. Most people put out their own bandit signs because it's an art form to put out bandit signs. Most people want to do it themselves. Also, bandit signs are relatively inexpensive, and for people that have more time and less money, very often bandit signs is a good place to get started with their marketing. So most of the people that are looking to use bandit signs are also looking to save money to market for low cost. So they usually want to put it out themselves. And that's good because then you'll build your expertise and become an artist, learn how the art of where to place these things is. You can find, however, people to do this for you. But there are some problems if you try to outsource bandit signs. You never know if they're actually going to put the signs out. You give a guy a bunch of money and a bunch of signs. He may stick 3 signs out and say, how's anybody ever going to know if I put the rest of these signs out? And he might just throw half the signs in the trash can. And everybody I know that pays somebody to put the bandit signs out for them discovers that their response rate is much, 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 much lower than when they put the signs out themselves. So it's just not as effective for a variety of reasons, that being one of them. And they're typically not going to put them out with as much love and gusto as you would. You can't pay a guy $10 an hour and expect him to climb up a telephone pole or to climb through bushes or climb over rocks and obstacles to get that perfect location for the sign. If you pay some guy to put out bandit signs, he's going to look for the softest dirt, closest to the road, easiest spot to put the sign, and that's probably not going to be the best place to put the sign. So it's just not going to work as well. But I certainly get it. I mean, not everybody wants to go out and put out bandit signs. If you do find a reliable service, there's sometimes also services you can hire that are noted reliable services that work for multiple vendors. Then you can pay them, and they're probably going to work better than some guy you pay off of an ad you picked up a guy on Craigslist or whatever. So outsourcing, if you are going to outsource, would probably work better if you use a professional bandit sign placement service. And there are some of those services that exist. Sometimes you'll find them advertising themselves online or in Craigslist. Our experience, bandit signs work really well, but you do have to also worry about what are called self-anointed sign police, or sometimes they're not self-anointed, they're actually deputized. Almost anywhere you try to put bandit signs out, there will be people that will resent the signs. Some of those people are just neighbors. Some of those people are people that work for the city, and many cities have ordinances against bandit signs. So consequently, when you put out bandit signs, you're going to have to realize that there will be people that will take your signs, pull them out of the ground, and throw them in the trash almost as quickly as you can put them out. Going back to that bandit sign placement is an art form, ferreting out the better places to put them will make it less likely that they'll get thrown out. If you do use this strategy, you're going to have to order a ton of signs and be diligent about constantly putting signs out. Like I said, my friends that do this a lot literally drive around all the time with the back of their car or SUV filled with signs, and they're putting out signs all the time. I'm going to go through a quick case study. I showed you my bandit sign a little while ago, and I did a case study where I bought 200 signs, paid about $400 for them. I paid somebody $20 an hour, somebody who was pretty good, in other words, at the top of the pay scale for bandit sign placement, and they put 40 signs a week out for 5 weeks. I received from all of that effort, I think 3 leads, and one of them turned into a short sale. I made a little bit of money. The signs were taken down almost as fast as we put them up. In fact, my assistant, who I paid to put these signs out, she told me at one point she was putting out signs and somebody was following her, and as she put the sign out, they actually got out of their car and they pulled it up, and she had to drive around until she lost them. I know that she didn't put them out with all that much, love and gusto, and it was not super effective. I got one deal out of it, but I spent $400 plus paying an assistant to put these things out every week. My own experience is they're fairly ubiquitous. They're not fairly unique. They still are timely and effective, though, so you have to decide for yourself if this is something you want. I don't personally put out bandit signs. I've done testing like this, a case study, to put out bandit signs, but for me personally, this is not a strategy that I use. I would rather spend more money and less time, but I totally get it when people are getting started in the business and they have more time and less money, in which case my advice to you would be bandit signs are a good strategy, and you probably want to learn how to do it yourself, and do it yourself not only to save yourself money, but to ferret out, again, the best ways and best methods and places to put them. Here's another thing to consider. In Texas and most states, they passed bandit sign laws. Many cities have also done the same thing. And it's common for there to be ordinances against bandit signs. The ordinances vary by state and city and location. For example, here in Austin, you can get fined $1,000 if you put a bandit sign in a public right-of-way. That's what the law says. So it's like along a public highway or something. Can you put them on private land? Yes. But can you put them on public land? Technically, no. Here's my personal experience. I've never been fined for bandit signs. I have only known a few people that have been fined for bandit signs. One guy, several people have put out bandit signs and gotten called by the authorities and said, "You've put out a bunch of bandit signs. If we find any more of your bandit signs, you're going to get fined up to $1,000 a sign." And every time that I've known somebody that gets that phone call, what they do is they change their sign and they change their phone number and they change the location they put their signs out, so that they're playing this little cat and mouse game with the authorities to avoid getting fines. I do know one guy that did get a fine, and he put out like 1,000 bandit signs, got a warning, and put out 1,000 more with the same phone number and message and everything else. So he just kind of, laughed in the face of the authorities, and the authorities caught up with him and nailed him. In Austin, they actually deputize people called sign rangers, which are little old ladies, and people have, I guess, nothing better to do than go around picking up other people's bandit signs. So there's people that actually have pride in driving around finding and throwing out bandit signs, and there's even some competition amongst those people, and that makes it very difficult for people that are putting out bandit signs. So if you want to do bandit signs and there's an ordinance against it, you have to decide, is this something you want to do? Do you want to get into a cat and mouse game with the authorities on placement of bandit signs and take the risks that are associated with that game? I do know that some people that do play that cat and mouse game and use bandit signs, even though there are ordinances against them, one of the tricks they use to keep themselves from getting caught is that they use prepaid cell phones. So the phone number on the bandit sign is literally a prepaid cell phone, so they get these cell phones with so many minutes on it. And if somebody calls them and says, who is this? And they basically answer, well, who is this? And the guy says, well, these are the, Bandit Sign Authority, whatever. We need your name and number because you're putting out bandit signs. And then they say, sorry, no habla español, and hang up the phone, I guess. Alrighty. Tips for success. Google Voice. So we talked about throwaway cell phones. Another thing you can do is you can use Google Voice. You can get a temporary phone number that forwards to your existing cell phone, and then you can change that phone number if you want to or need to. Simple signs work best. That's a good point. What do we mean by that? There's very little room on a bandit sign. Putting a lot of text and messages on there is not going to be very effective because it's going to get the message too complicated to read while somebody is driving by. So don't put too much information on the sign. It's going to be too small. Just make it very, very simple. Handwritten signs work very well. Now, obviously, it takes a lot of time to write, we buy houses, fast cash, whatever. It's faster to just get them pre-printed. I like to get a pre-printed sign like one of the examples we showed you before, and then just handwrite the phone number in. That way I can get these signs that are made up and very expensive. I mean, a custom sign is going to, with your phone number and your message on it, is going to cost more per sign than a pre-printed sign. So if you get a pre-printed sign where you write in the phone number, that's going to be a cheaper way to do it. Some of the ordinances against bandit signs have rules where you're allowed to put bandit signs out on weekends, but not during the week. So if you want to be compliant with the ordinance, you would put them out on Friday night and pick them up on Sunday nights. Now that's for a common type of ordinance. You'd have to check whatever your ordinance is where you live, and if there is an ordinance, and what you'd have to do to comply to that ordinance, if it's even possible to comply to that ordinance. But the Friday to Sunday thing is pretty common. And finally, place the signs as high as possible so that they're hard to tear down. Some of my friends who are, bandit sign aficionados have little tricks where they actually hang their signs up on telephone poles. And some of these guys actually have invented these very clever little gadgets where it's literally a plastic pipe with a little staple gun and a hook at the end, and they can hoist a sign up 12 feet in the air and pull a string, and it'll staple that sign to the telephone pole. And now that it's 12 feet up in the air, nobody can pull it down without incredible amounts of work. So those little old ladies, will jump up and down with their umbrella trying to take the sign down, but they won't be able to reach. And I've actually seen that. It's kind of funny. So there are tricks like that that people can do if you want to actually get those signs harder to take down. Scribble on the back of the sign. There's a tip for you. You have these beautiful signs, and if you flip them over, you've got a blank sign. And you ever see those guys standing along the highway with a, "We'll work for food" sign? Well, very often if you look at the other side of their sign, it's like a "We buy houses" sign. So if you don't want your sign to become their sign, you might want to take one of those great big black magic markers and scribble over the back of the sign, especially if you're putting your signs near busy intersections. Okay, some more tips for success. You can put signs in front of your own projects, like your rental properties or renovation projects, things like that. It's your property. It's not a public right-of-way. And if you advertise in a neighborhood like We Buy Houses, especially in an old kind of fixer-upper or old part-of-town neighborhood, very often what will happen is some of the neighbors will come up to you and they'll be nosing around looking at what you're doing, and they'll say, "Oh, you're one of these guys that fixes up old houses. Well, I know this guy around the corner that's got an old house." You're going to want to talk to them, so that it can be very effective. Take notes where the builders put their signs. What does that mean? Builders have figured out that they put bandit signs along the highways, and they've figured out great places to put signs. So you might want to investigate where they put their signs and think about putting signs, where they put their signs, because they've figured it out. Again, wooden stakes versus metal stakes. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. When you buy your bandit signs, what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to sell you metal stakes for the bandit signs. The bandit signs have these splines in the corners of them. I don't know if you can see that. and they have these metal stakes that stick in those splines, and then you can stick the sign in the ground. And the catch is the stakes are like $1 a piece. Well, the much, much, much cheaper way to get these signs put out is to go to Home Depot and to buy a bundle of wooden stakes. It's a great big bundle like this of wooden stakes. Each stake is like that long, about a foot and a half long, and a whole bundle of stakes is like $20. So literally the stakes are only a few cents a piece. And then you get 1-inch roofing nails, and 2 nails, you nail the sign to the stake, and then you carry around a rubber mallet and you pound the stake into the ground. Wooden stakes and roofing nails are by far the cheapest way of getting a Bandit sign attached to a stake and then getting that stake into the ground. So much, much cheaper than the metal posts. If you use the metal signs, the metal posts, it's going to cost you $1 a sign. The sign's only $2, so it's going to increase your cost by 50%. Vertical flutes versus horizontal flutes. Again, these flutes are this little corner, and there's a picture of it, of the sign. I want the horizontal flutes. Why? Because it won't bend when the wind blows. If I hammer this thing to a stake or to a telephone pole, it's not going to bend when the wind blows and wrap around it. Interestingly enough, the default is they're going to try to sell you the one with the vertical splines because they want to sell you those metal stakes that go with them. And the problem with those is they bend around when the wind blows. So you want to make sure you get the horizontal splines or flutes unless you're going to go ahead and use those metal stakes. Alrighty. Resources. banditsigns.com, or simply Google Bandit signs. There's a million companies that sell these. You can get them pre-messaged. Just get that one in the upper left-hand corner example we showed you. You know, we buy houses, fast cash, and you write in your phone number. That's the cheapest sign out there. It's very effective. The We Buy Houses, brand is open domain brand. You can use it and call it your own, and it's widely recognized to be very effective. So banditsigns.com is a place we've used them. They will also make custom Bandit signs for you, put custom messaging on it for you if you want. Or like I said, you can just Google Bandit signs and find lots of other resources on Bandit signs online. So hopefully you enjoyed this Bandit sign presentation. See you on the next one. Thanks.